by this time, Deputy Wood had got his rifle out in case the bull did charge. I told him, you're gonna be lucky if the rifle does anything. So we stand there, we're just talking. It was fairly calm, other than the mess around the traffic accident. This wasn't anything new. I had just done one of these. It wasn't a car crash, but it was an injured rancher's cow up in New Meadows. You gotta really treat them with kid gloves. You know, ranchers care about their animals. That was another reason I explained to Wood, you know, let the rancher do what he needs to do. Pretty soon the bull turned towards us. And he took maybe a step, and I yelled at him. And he stopped. A minute went by, seconds went by, I don't know. The bull came at us again. I yelled at him, threw up my arms, he stopped. This kept happening, he kept working closer and closer to the pickup. Me and Deputy Wood were both around the driver's side door, front fender of his pickup. As the bull got closer, Deputy Wood, I believe, was standing in front of the grill. I had moved around and kind of taken cover behind the rear passenger of his pickup. And then I was kind of out of sight, but we were still talking back and forth, and I could tell he was right around the driver's side headlight of his pickup. The bull made another charge and came right up to the pickup, kind of front of the bed, back of the rear door on the driver's side, and stood there. I don't know how long he stood there. He started working his way towards the back of the pickup and then stopped again. On the other side of the highway, there was either fire or EMS person, I'm not sure who it was, flagging traffic. At one point, Deputy Wood came around and moved towards the person flagging the traffic. It's just a little bit fuzzy. The bull then walked out on the highway. I would say he wasn't quite to the center line yet, maybe a foot off the center line, and stopped. I wasn't at a 90 degree from Wood. I was a little bit further than that. Like I said before, my pistol wouldn't have done anything. I couldn't shoot, but I couldn't shoot regardless because I would have been shooting towards the flagger. All of a sudden the bull just puts his head down and goes right after Wood. I seen some of the shots. I heard all the rest. I'm, watching. I don't know how many shots were fired. I think initially 3 and then another 3. So 6. The bull didn't even flinch. I do remember that, but he stopped. He worked his way, then he went back over to the other side of the highway and laid down facing north, right on the fog line, white Dodge pickup right there. As soon as that happened, a four-wheeler pulled up. I'm still kind of towards the center line. Deputy Wood approached the four-wheeler. There was a man and a woman on the four-wheeler. They have a rifle. I just knew it was the owner. And this is where it's always tough. It's one of the few incidents or calls for service, whatever you want to call it, where there's going to be somebody you don't know in your scene with a loaded gun, and you let them do it. Like I said before, I just had an incident in New Meadows, and you're just kind of there to, if they need any help, or you just there to help. So when Deputy Wood approached the four-wheeler, the male said, I'll never forget it the rest of my life. I should have acted on it then. He said, get that piece of shit away from my animal. Automatically assume he's talking about Deputy Wood's rifle. But like I said, this isn't our first rodeo. The incident I just handled a month or 2 months ago, the rancher showed up with a loaded gun. He's very upset because he's gonna have to kill an animal. His livelihood. I should have put more stock in those words, but I totally understood he was upset. I've had to do the same thing with my own animals. Deputy Wood nor myself said a word to him. He walked north towards the bull. He stood there with his back to me. The rifle barrel was in the air, and I could tell he was loading. He started walking, after he got loaded, he started walking towards the bull. Me and Deputy Wood, if I remember correctly, Deputy Wood was to his right at that time. We started walking towards the bull. There was a lot of light there, but for a few minutes, I did have my flashlight on the bull's head, just to help him get have a better sight picture and just help illuminate it. Deputy Wood had already instructed the flagger to clear all the southbound traffic, let them go. Everything was clear to the north. It was safe to put the bull out of its misery. When the owner got towards the bull, he walked around to the side of the bull, and I thought he was going to shoot, maybe under the ear or, whatever, but there was a pickup sitting right there. So I got ready to say something, but then he kept moving around the front. I didn't know, then I was starting to, speculate, okay, is he just looking, checking the bull out, deciding where to shoot it or what? Deputy Wood was right there with him. All of a sudden he pulls that rifle up and he's going to shoot straight south. I didn't know his wife, but the female on the four-wheeler was directly behind the bull on the south side of the bull, and then you have all the EMS personnel to the south. I personally know how thick those bulls' skulls are, and regardless of that point, I was not going to allow him to shoot south towards all those people. I don't know my exact words if I said, no, hey, what I said. I said something. And then Deputy Wood said something to the effect of, hey, we're not doing this. The owner had kind of, when one of us, I'm not sure when he kind of lifted his head up and kind of took his attention away from pulling the trigger right that second, and then he kind of re-aimed like he was going to do it anyway, and then Deputy Wood tried to intervene. I don't know if Deputy Wood grabbed the gun, pushed the gun, what happened. I know Deputy Wood used his left hand to try and stop the situation. I started moving because I was a little ways away, I'm not sure how far. I started trying to get up there to him. The owner, for whatever reason, just shoved Deputy Wood sideways I seen Deputy Wood, his left leg was in the air, and he kind of hopped to the side on his right foot. As soon as Deputy Wood lost control of that loaded gun, I reached down to try and unholster my pistol. The owner, and this is what has really been bothering me, is I don't know why he turned to me. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want him to turn on anybody, but complacency, I don't know. They're just a delicate situation, and I just don't know why, but he just turned to me and pulled up and fired from the hip. By the time he was facing me, I don't know how far drawn I was. I don't know if I was here or just barely leaving the holster. It was almost simultaneous. I remember the blast of that rifle, and it just, for the lack of a better term, just rung my bell. Between that rifle going off and my pistol, I just barely started getting, a lot of my hearing back yesterday. I know I was zeroed in on that rifle. I know I had some tunnel vision because I don't recall anything peripheral wise. All I remember is zeroing in on that rifle, and I could be way off, but I'm pretty sure I fired 3 to 4 rounds. I know my last shot, I need to back up just a little bit. When that rifle went off, I felt, the best way I can explain it is like a very light breeze on my leg and a heavy one underneath my armpit, kind of between my armpit and side protection of my vest, and I had a pain in my ribs. My left hand was over my right side, and I'm holding my right side. It had spun me, so my left side would have been canted towards the what I call suspect at this point. I think I started to move. I remember after the first shot, he was fidgeting with the gun. Some of it is super slow motion in my head. I know it was seconds, if not hundreds of seconds. But that gun going off is like 10 minutes in my head. The last shot I fired, it stuck in my head that if it wouldn't have, the last shot, I seen the rifle barrel start to go back down, and then he started to go backwards, kind of back and to his right. When that gun barrel went down, I stopped firing. If I remember correctly, I wouldn't have been able to fire any more because I was a little bit off balance, and the next one could have gone. I just didn't know, but regardless, when that gun barrel went down and he started to tip, that was the last shot I fired. There had been a skid steer coming up southbound lane coming north. The person, presumably that was driving that, come running around and screaming and yelling. The female had gotten off the four-wheeler, was screaming and yelling. I backed up, so one of them was to my left, one of them was to my right. I started yelling at them to get down on the ground. Deputy Wood's trying to deal with the suspect. I seen him grab the rifle, throw it. After Deputy Wood threw the rifle, the male complied. After I don't know how many commands, he laid down. Deputy Wood took care of him. I went. The female was laying down at this point. I had holstered, was trying to cuff her. I had the cuffs on her left wrist. I only had one pair of cuffs. Somebody had come behind me, said, "I need cuffs," and taken one pair out. I want to say, I don't know if it was Deputy Wood or, like I said, Deputy Bauer was there in a firefighter capacity. I don't know if he did it. I don't know who did it. Somebody took a pair of cuffs. The female, I had her left hand behind her back. Her right arm was still extended. I'm telling her to put her hand behind her back. She's saying she can't do it because of her shoulder. I pat search her as best I can. At that point, I didn't care as a female. I checked her waist, I checked shoulders, coat pockets, took the cuffs off, and had her sit on that four-wheeler, checked the four-wheeler for weapons, and then I went and dealt with, after the male was cuffed, I'm assuming Deputy Wood had searched him. Deputy Wood went back to the suspect. The male that was on the ground was complaining that I believe it was the right cuff was too tight. I loosened it up. The incident with the male and female was a little bit blurry. Just my focus was so much on what had just happened. At some point I stood him up and walked him to the four-wheeler, and I remember him asking if I could put another set of cuffs on him. So I added a second set of cuffs to him and explained to him, after what just happened, we don't know who everybody is. Everybody's yelling and screaming. I'm not going to get shot in the back. I said, you're not in any trouble, but I'm not taking you out of these cuffs. And then he starts telling me, at some point during that, he was telling me he was this person's nephew. After he was at the four-wheeler, I don't know exactly what or where. I'm not sure what I was doing. I was away from them about 20 feet. I kept checking my left hand for, that was actually before, when he was, I gotta back up, when he was still on the ground, and because I don't know, at some point, I don't know if they're on the ground, already up, or before they ever got taken down. I'm checking my left hand for blood. I don't know why the pain was there, if it was the way I moved, if it was the shock from the rifle. I don't know. Regardless, I kept checking my left hand. The female is screaming at me, "Why did you shoot him?" I do know I replied, "Because he shot me in the side." After they were at the four-wheeler, Deputy Wood, I don't know if he saw me holding my side, if he saw something. I didn't know. He comes running over and starts ripping my clothes up and running his hand up the inside of my vest. And he's yelling at me, where you hit, where you hit? I said, I don't know, I'm not seeing any blood. I'm not sure how much time went by. Another individual had come into the scene. Deputy Wood asked him who he was. He said he was a neighbor, or he said something about somebody's pickup was in his driveway, or a four-wheeler or something. And he was asked to leave. He came back in to the scene, and the male that I had handcuffed, they start chattering back and forth how something to the effect that we just shot him for no reason, yada yada. I tell him, you need to leave, you've already been asked to leave. He starts picking up shell casings. And I grabbed him by the back of the coat, and I'm like, you're under arrest. You just tampered with a major crime scene. And he didn't throw the casings off the road. I don't know how many he had. Another thing, I don't know why certain things bug you and why certain things stick in your mind. He picked up, when I seen him picking up the brass for whatever reason, I did see him pick up one of my shiny shell casings that I knew was mine. And for whatever reason, that is sticking in my head. I know he picked up 2 casings. I know for sure one was mine. I'm not sure what else he picked up. He didn't toss them to either side of the road. He didn't really throw them down. He just kind of didn't drop them, but kind of a cross between a drop and a throw. Tossed them back on the pavement. He took 2 or 3 steps to the southeast, and then he tossed them back down. I had him up against Deputy Wood's pickup. I'm yelling at Deputy Wood for handcuffs. Deputy Wood came over. He fought me a little bit, not fight, but was pushing him off the pickup and trying to turn around and just pull his hands away. We get him cuffed. We sit him in the pickup. These legs facing out. Door was open. Then he starts apologizing, and we talked, got him settled down. I said, whatever happens, it's not up to me or Deputy Wood. When the Idaho State Police get here, it'll be completely up to them if you go to jail or go home. I never did get his name. I stood there for a little bit. Somebody relieved me, and I, for the life of me, don't know who it was. It might have been Deputy Merritt that stood there and watched him. Alls I know is EMS come running over and said, you need to get in the ambulance now. They got me in the ambulance, started ripping my clothes up. And that's, Deputy Wood was already in the ambulance. It was such a chaotic scene and so short on help. I know during the incident I had gotten on the radio and told dispatch that, I don't know my exact words, I just told her whoever's coming, they need to hurry. Like I said, when I got in the ambulance, Deputy Wood was already in there. There was 2 people with us on the ambulance crew. One of them was kind of coming and going, and Deputy Wood did tell them that somebody has to stay in the ambulance because we cannot, we can't be together. The one personnel on board said, we know that one of us will stay here with you guys. And they gave me this piece of paper, and I started jotting notes right there in the ambulance. It time when somebody said nobody actually said he was dead. The reason I knew is they asked me to call for the coroner, and then somebody said, oh, no, I'll take care of that. I don't know how long I sat in the ambulance. Mark and Vic showed up. I was begging people to take my clothes. I wasn't sure if I was close enough. I know GSR, I want to say 3 to 7 feet. I don't think I was quite that close, but I wasn't willing to take the chance. I asked Mark, can you please take my clothes? And I know I have some time, but I didn't want to take that chance. I wanted my clothes gone. Sat in the ambulance for a while longer. Mark came and got me, I think might have been the chief deputy said I was gonna go sit in Mark's car, and then I don't know if I walked to Mark's car myself or if the chief deputy or regardless, I got to Mark's car, got in the passenger seat. We pulled up to I don't want, Mark made a little tiny mistake. I would appreciate nobody says a word to him. He figured it out almost immediately, but we pulled up to the crime scene tape, and I'm just staring at him working on the suspect. Mark got out, immediately jumped back in, got the car turned around. Sat there for a while, I don't know how long, and I forget his name. The sergeant drove me here, and that's when I worked with your guys' crew.
Do you have that drawing?
Yes.
You guys, can you give us kind of an indication where you were standing at the time of the shooting, where the suspect was, and where your partner was?
I can use that as a pointer.
Yeah. Well, you can mark it. I don't care.
This bull, even after the shooting, was clear. His head was somewhere in this vicinity. And his body was here. His legs were kind of under him, but he was facing north.
Okay.
Obviously, when he was loading the rifle, we were more by the four-wheeler. I was standing near, I don't know if I was standing on the center line. I was either on it or to the east of it, because I remember I was facing the folder, because I remember I kept looking left to make sure, just watching for cars, etc. When they walked up here, it all hit him, and Deputy Wood were right at the head of the bull. I'm not sure. I don't know where I was in relation to that center line. I know that when the struggle broke out, I had started moving towards Deputy Wood to assist him, before that gun went off, or a fight. Emotions were high. Obviously, I moved. I